Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise under, I have a petition for the protection of the right to life, health, and a clean environment, and other constitutionally protected rights and fundamental freedoms of the residents of Uyombo village in Masangoni ward, Masangoni constituency, Kilifi County. We, the undersigned citizens of the Republic of Kenya and residents of Uyombo village in Masangoni ward, Kilifi South constituency, Kilifi County, draw the attention of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya to the following: that Kilifi County has a population of 1,453,787 people, according to the census of 2019, and is home to 4,153 fishermen, and has a total of 199,674 families practicing agriculture on 112,879 hectares of land. The county has continued to support education programs with 1,550 ECD centers, 41 vocational training centers, 538 primary schools, and 86 secondary schools. That Uyombo village in Masangoni ward, that's Kilifi County, the North Coast region of Kenya, has been earmarked to play host to a nuclear reactor by the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA. That NUPEA is a state corporation established under Section 54 of the Energy Act of 2019 and tasked with the responsibility to promote and implement Kenya's nuclear power program. Paragraph 4 lays out the mandate of NUPEA, and I will skip it because it's in the statute. Paragraph 5, that the preservation and realization of the right to a clean and healthy environment for all is greatly anchored in the strict adherence to procedural environmental rights, that's access to information, public participation, and access to effective remedy in cases of the violation, in ensuring the right to a clean and healthy environment. Therefore, it's pertinent that all procedural rights are upheld without compromise. That the people of Uyombo have been denied access to information regarding the nuclear reactor and have been excluded from the decision-making process. That the Uyombo community have been excluded in the participation that led to choosing the site. That no measures have been put in place for effective remedies or access to justice in cases of a nuclear spill for the people of Kilifi County. The nuclear modular reactors will use uranium in their processes. That the uranium will produce radioactive waste. That the half-life of uranium is 4.5 billion years. That this makes the project highly sensitive, risky, extremely toxic, and dangerous for the county and beyond, for people, the land, flora, and fauna, into future generations. The petition goes on to state what the report of the Presidential Task Force on the review of power purchase stated. I will not read that. It's on record. That the Ministry of Finance, therefore, as a result of that report, erred in allocating 2 billion to NUPEA. The Sustainable Development calls for prioritizing sustainability and community well-being and environmentally friendly projects to avoid social and cultural disruption. That nuclear energy is an extremely sensitive venture that requires high levels of professionalism and strict due diligence and fidelity to the rule of law. That NUPEA has exhibited a high level of mediocrity and unprofessionalism in choosing the location for the nuclear power plant. That Uyombo Reef and Mida Creek, with its mangrove system, Part of the Watamu Marine National Park and Reserve is home to many endangered species of marine life and is included in the Watamu/Malindi UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. The area attracts many special interest conservationists, scientists, and tourists who are opposed to the location of the project. This area is known as a biodiversity hotspot and must be protected at all costs. That Uyombo community also borders the Arabuko-Sakoke Forest, Nature Kenya States. Arabuko-Sakoke Forest is the last large protected fragment of the East African coastal forest and home to 4 endangered mammals and 6 threatened birds. The forest also provides sources of livelihood for the neighboring communities and ecological services for the country. It must be conserved for the people of Kenya. That the area is a home to coral reefs, mangroves, dolphins, and whales, which attract many tourists, researchers, and special interest groups. That the area, therefore, is a very sensitive and unique ecosystem, deserving for protection for Kenya's future generations, and that Kenya's tourism, with the socioeconomic benefits, must not be exposed to such high-risk ventures. That this, therefore, disqualifies the location chosen by NUPEA and calls for further research into a new location for the reactor. That choosing Uyombo increases the cost on the taxpayer for risk mitigation. That NUPEA has failed to perform a risk assessment analysis in choosing the proposed site. That Kenya has signed the Vienna Convention on Civil Liberty for Nuclear Damage that covers liability and compensation. That Kenya is yet to ratify the Pelindaba Treaty, making it possible grounds for suspicion of setting up nuclear weapons by any mischievous regime in power, which could cause instability in the region. That the legal framework for management of nuclear power plants in Kenya is not adequate. EMCA, that's the Environment Management Act, is weak, Conservation Act, is weak on risks assessment, liability, and compensation. That there is no effective legal framework for disaster management in Kenya based on how floods, drought, and the Owino Uhuru-led contamination case and other disasters have been managed. That there are no existing guidelines on health impact assessment with respect to projects and related disasters. That there is no existing policy framework for radioactive waste management. That there is no remediation policy in Kenya, and NEMA is unable even to deal with the Owino Uhuru-led contamination and poisoning that happened in 2009 and is fighting in court against remediation to the affected community. The Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry estimated the total of cost of remediating the Fukushima site was yen 21.5 trillion, which is equivalent to 187 billion, almost twice the previous estimate of yen 11 trillion, that was 96 billion US dollars. That the Kenyan taxpayer cannot be made to take such a risk, as the taxpayer cannot afford such a remediation costs. That there is no proven need for nuclear power as Kenya suffers no energy deficit, and in addition, Kenya has geothermal, wind, and solar resources, which offers renewable energy with less risk. That the socio-economic and social impact report was not done by professionals in nuclear energy and radioactive waste management. That in parallel, through omission or commission, NEMA has failed to respect laws and procedures related to licensing, and the research project was allowed to be implemented in a location that is contrary to the rules and regulations on the requirements related to the environmental impacts. That NEMA is also legitimizing the illegal work of NUPEA by being part of the presentation and the defense of the CESA report. That the county government of Kilifi has failed in its mandate to control toxic industries producing toxic waste by either providing suitable infrastructure, or if the infrastructure is inadequate, to advise against the commissioning of such projects. That the peers of energy, during a visit to endorse the site, ignored the issues raised by the community and went ahead to rubber stamp NUPEA's decision on the location, signifying the groundbreaking of the project activities in the community despite the concerns posed by the community. That we raised our issues before the relevant institutions and organizations, that is the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and the Kilifi County government, but were ignored. That the issues raised above are not pending in any court of law or any other legal body. We therefore, your humble petitioners, pray that the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya, through the Senate, urgently consider this an economic, environmental, and moral issue for the country, and that they act with the view of, 1, ordering all responsible state agencies to remove Uyombo from the list of possible sites for a nuclear reactor. Ordering NUPEA to immediately explain evidence-based research and the science that led them to choosing Uyombo as their preferred site. Ordering the EACC to institute mechanisms to prosecute individual NUPEA officials found culpable of wasting taxpayer funds by recommending Uyombo as their preferred site. Ordering NUPEA to stop interfering in the issuance of title deeds to the Uyombo community. Ensuring the freedoms of the residents of Uyombo village and other Kenyans under the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And your petitioners will ever pray. Dated the 12th day of October, 2023, presented to the Senate by the Senator for Busia County on 30th October, 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, this petition is committed to the Standing Committee on Energy, and the said committee may work jointly with the Standing Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources in preparation of the report. And in terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is mandated to, within 60 calendar days from the date of reading the prayer, which is today, to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and tabled on the table of this Senate. It is so directed. Next order, clerk.
Order number 5, papers.
The majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of this Senate today, 15th of November 2023, Mr. Speaker, being the Circle Society's regulatory authority, specified non-deposit taking levy order 2023. Thank you.
The chairperson, Standing Committee on Administration of Committee on the chairperson, Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House the joint report of the consideration of the request for approval by Parliament of the deployment of officers of the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support MSS mission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 6.
Senator, just hold on, clerk. Senator Sifuna, you very well know at what point a senator ought to rise on a point of order. And this does not present that opportunity. Okay, proceed with your point of clarification.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to request your indulgence that at this order on papers, since yesterday I was required to table some papers regarding the debate yesterday, that I do it at this particular juncture.
Very well. If you recall, honorable senators, the honorable senator for Nairobi, Senator Sifuna, met certain